Hey folks, this is JR with DIY Prepper. Welcome to the channel. One of the most important things to have during a power outage or blackout is a backup cooking method. And on this channel, we've talked about most of them. If you watch me for a while, you know that I'm a big fan of things like butane and propane stoves. I mean, they're easy to use, and as long as you don't wait until the last minute, fuel usually isn't that difficult to find. But the big problem with those is that they'll be useless once you run out of fuel. Then, since a lot of us have multiple things that use the same fuel type, like buddy heaters and a lot of stoves both use propane, we're probably going to end up running out of fuel a lot faster than what we're expecting to. So today, we're going to talk about some backup cooking methods that don't require man-made fuel sources. Having one or more of these should allow you to cook or purify water even if a blackout lasts for several months. And one really good fuel-free cooking method is a solar oven. These work well for things like baking, also making stews in something like a cast iron Dutch oven, and dehydrating. These come in several different types. Mine is the all-season solar cooker camper model. And one nice thing about it is that you can easily fold it up into a very small flat package when you're not using it. Just be sure to not lose the instructions for it, otherwise putting it back together again is going to be pretty much a nightmare. Now, there are other kinds of solar ovens out there. The All-American Sun Oven is probably the most popular, and it's one of the nicest ones out there. It's also very expensive. But if you're going to be doing a lot of solar cooking, or you're wanting to cook larger things using your solar oven, then I think it'd probably be the best choice. And then also there's the tube style solar ovens. Those work well for cooking smaller things, and supposedly you can also bake in them as well. Then, aside from solar ovens, another good way to use the sun to help you cook is to power a solar generator. Now, to do this, you're going to need one a little bit on the larger side. Probably the smallest that I would recommend going is something like an EcoFlow River 2 Pro. To do this, you're going to want something with a large enough capacity to handle cooking tasks, because anything that generates heat is going to use a lot of energy. And then you're also going to need something with a powerful inverter, because a lot of these household cooking appliances, they run anywhere between 12 to 1800 watts, because that's kind of on the upper end of what most just normal wall outlets can handle. Then expandable systems, where you can increase their overall capacity by adding additional batteries, are ideal because they'll allow you to cook longer. But before we go any further with this, I'd like to thank EcoFlow for sponsoring us today. And one of the best ways, at least in my opinion, to use a solar generator for cooking is with an electric kettle. Having something like this is going to allow you to boil water, and that's good if you need to purify it. You're going to be able to remove biological contaminants from it. And then also, if you're trying to do things like prepare freeze-dried meals or even cook rice, then that's going to be helpful for that. Now, if you're doing something like cooking rice or beans that take a little longer, you might want to boil your water in this and then put it and your rice or beans in a thermos, so that way the water will stay hotter longer without you having to constantly be boiling more water or keeping it heated up, whatever the case may be. But as far as how long it'll take you to boil water in one of these using a solar generator, if you're using something like the Delta 3 Plus, that's going to allow you to do its full 1500 watts, then it's going to take around like 4.5 minutes to do that, and it's going to use around 15% of your capacity. And one thing I thought was interesting is that I used the River 2 Pro with that kettle, and it also used around 15 or 20% of its capacity. Now, it did take longer to boil the water. It took around 7.5 minutes, because you're only going to be getting around 800 watts or so out of the River 2 Pro. That's because of its X-Boost feature. It's going to allow you to get or power some devices like this that would normally require more. This normally requires 1500, but it works well with things like this that just have like a simple heating element or something like that. And one appliance that's probably very similar to this is going to be an induction plate. That would be better for situations where maybe you need something more adjustable, or you're trying to cook something else, like maybe you're just trying to heat up a can of pasta sauce, you don't need a full 1500 watts for that. You'll probably just burn the mess out of it. So an induction plate would allow you to cook other things with a little more control. Now, if you don't have a solar generator or you're looking to upgrade what you do have, now is a very good time to do that. EcoFlow is running a Christmas sale from now until December 27th. You can save up to 55% off, and if you use my links in this code, then you can get an additional 5% off pretty much everything except flash sale items and their recommended accessories. Another really good way to use a solar generator for cooking, though, is a crock pot. My family's had to do this during power outages. I was away from home at work one day, and then the power went out in the middle of the afternoon, and my wife was here at the house by herself with our son, and she had just plugged in a crock pot meal, and she was all upset. I was like, honey, just plug it into a solar generator. And I mean, it finished the job. That meal was cooked just as good as it would have been had the power not gone out. Now, one good thing about a crock pot is that it's not going to use a whole lot of power even on its higher settings. My crock pot, when it's on high, uses around 220 or 230 watts. So usually on high, most meals take around 2 or 3 hours to cook. So something like this Delta 3 Plus shouldn't have any trouble preparing a whole meal. Another kitchen appliance that you can run using a power station is a microwave, but that comes with a pretty big caveat. You're going to need at least a mid-size power station, something like a Delta 3 Plus or Delta 2 Max, something like that has a powerful enough inverter to give this its full power requirements. You shouldn't use X-Boost feature or anything like that with this because it has sensitive electronics. But a microwave is going to work really well for just quick cooking tasks. Maybe you need to heat up a can of soup, heat up a can of chili, things like that. It's a very good option if, say, maybe you have some other cooking methods, but you don't want to use them because you can't go outside, it's unsafe to crack a window for one reason or another. Using this with a power station would just allow you to cook very quickly and relatively safely. Then you can also use other things like electric griddles or even George Foreman grills. Electric griddles, they're going to work really well for cooking things like pancakes and eggs, whereas with the George Foreman, you're going to be able to do things like grill steak, grill hamburgers, things like that. Then there's also larger whole home power options like the Delta Pro Ultra that can actually power a built-in electric stove and oven. But I would only do that under a couple of different circumstances. First off, you're going to need a fairly substantial battery capacity, and you're also going to want to have roof-mounted solar panels. Those big electric ovens use a lot of energy, and unless you have a substantial capacity, then you're going to go through what you have very quickly. So a better option may be to use that whole home power option, tie it into your home's electrical system, and use like the kitchen appliances that we've already talked about, and then maybe even a smaller convection oven. With a convection oven, you're going to be able to cook a lot of the things that you would normally be able to in your full-size oven, but it's going to use a little bit less power because those tend to be designed just for regular wall outlets. Like these others are going to be limited to around 1500 to 1800 watts just because that's what those circuits are designed for. And one neat thing that EcoFlow's come out with recently is called What a Year. It shows you how much power you've used and generated over the year and which of their devices you've used the most. And it's especially useful if you have one of their larger or whole home power systems, since it gives you a monthly breakdown of your usage as well. If you want to check that out, then you can scan the QR code on the screen. Another off-grid cooking method that doesn't require any man-made fuels is the Kettle. And this works really well, mainly for just boiling water. The way it works is you pour your water down into here, and then you build your fire inside of this pan. Now, there's some extra stuff in here because I got the full kit. I'll talk about that more in a second. But once you get your fire built, you set this back down, and this whole thing actually does not hold water. It's just kind of an outer reservoir on the sides, and this middle portion acts as a chimney. So smoke and fire will come up through here, and then you can add additional fuel through the top to continue to feed it as long as necessary. Now, like I said, I got the full kit. So what that allows me to do is use the fire pan here with like a grill grate, so I can grill. There's also an attachment for the top of this that'll allow you to put pots and stuff on top of it so that you can cook in that. Now, if you do that, you do need to still have water in here, otherwise you're gonna damage this container. But even with those additional attachments, you're going to be kind of limited on what you can cook. So that brings me to the next off-grid cooking method we'll talk about today, and that's a rocket stove. And even though you could make the argument that the Kettle is technically a form of rocket stove, something like this EcoZoom Versa is going to allow you to do some larger scale cooking tasks. You can feed a lot more like wood or whatever inside of here. And this is also compatible with charcoal if you have any of that. But this larger top here is going to allow you to do full-size skillets. Also allow you to do things like grill pans or even boil larger quantities of water in maybe something like a stock pot. And I like this because it's a nice, relatively portable, self-contained unit. You can build a rocket stove out of things like cinder blocks, but you could have a couple issues with that. First, if you have to bug out, nobody's going to be wanting to, haul around a huge handful of cinder blocks with them. This is just a lot more portable. And then also, a lot of cinder blocks aren't necessarily rated to be dealing with high levels of heat, especially over and over for extended periods of time. They're going to eventually break down, and if you happen to be cooking something like, say, a pot of stew or boiling a large pot of water and that structure breaks down, then it could hurt somebody. This is rated for a lot of use, and it'll just be a little bit more convenient. Then another thing that you could consider to be some sort of rocket stove is the BioLite camp stove. And this is neat for a few different reasons. Like the Kettle and the EcoZoom I just showed, this is going to be able to use natural materials like sticks and things like that. So you don't need man-made fuel sources. It does work really well though with wood pellets. So if you have some of those, like what you'd use for different kinds of grills, then they work exceptionally well in this, but you don't have to use them. They're kind of a luxury. But one neat thing about this is it's sort of a miniature thermoelectric power plant. When you build a fire in here, the main unit will activate a fan inside of it. And the fire itself will do two things. First of all, it's going to help power that fan, but it's also going to recharge an internal battery inside of this. As you can see, there is a USB port on the front. You can use that to either run like the little LED light that comes with this, or you can use it to charge things like your cell phone or flashlight. You can also get some different attachments for it. Like you can get a large pot for boiling water. It also works really well for preparing things like freeze-dried meal, ramen noodles, things like that. And then you can also get a grill attachment for this where you'll be able to cook different kinds of meat. Like I've used it to cook hot dogs in the past. Now, the thing about that grill attachment is that since it's so small, it's kind of a challenge to find areas of that grill that aren't just super, super hot. You can adjust the temperature of the flame by turning the fan down, because the higher the fan speed goes, the hotter the fire is going to be. So you can kind of adjust it that way. But just be aware that since that grilling surface is so small, you're not going to be able to really do what I like to do, where I put it over a hot portion to sear the mess out of it, and then I will move it somewhere to the side so it's kind of a slower cooking. I really like doing that on charcoal because you get more flavor. But this is just something that, especially with the grill, you're going to kind of have to play with to figure out how to get it to work the way you want it to. Then the next method I like to cover today is kind of one that's technically cheating, but that's candles. Now, I know that candles are made by people, obviously, but if you keep bees or you can trade with somebody that does, then technically, because of the beeswax, you could have a long-term supply of natural candles. Now, the important thing to remember about cooking with candles is that it's not going to be nearly as effective as pretty much any of the other methods that we talked about, because candles just really don't get hot enough, especially to boil water. But one really good way to use candles for cooking is a candle lantern. As you can see here, this has a flat metal top on it, and that'll allow you to set things like metal camp cups on top of it. You'll be able to heat up water to, say, make instant coffee or to make tea. You'll also be able to do other things like heat up soup or chili. But it's a really good way to have a lighting source that you're already using pull double duty as a backup cooking method. One thing though you'll see a lot of people recommend that I don't is using multiple candles very close together in something like a baking pan. Having that many candles that close together will help you generate a little bit more heat, but it's also kind of dangerous at the same time. Now, there's a lot of people that have done it without any issues, but the danger comes like if you're setting a pot or pan down on top of it and it kind of bumps it, that wax could kind of splash up and then cause a flash fire. And if you're not expecting it, you could probably burn your house down because it's kind of spectacular when it happens. I mean, it could probably shoot flames at least 1.5 to 2 feet up in the air if it's bad enough. So a good alternative to that is to put those candles inside of something like a muffin tin. Having the candles separated in that way will reduce the chances of a flash fire. One challenge you may face though is that you're going to need a little bit of separation between the top of the muffin tin and the bottom of your cooking container so that air can circulate and the candles won't just die out. But y'all, there's a lot of cooking options out there, so if you want to see a list of indoor safe cooking methods, then click here. Or if you want to see off-grid lighting methods that would be good for longer-term disasters, then click here. Once again, I'd like to thank EcoFlow for sponsoring us today. Thank y'all for stopping by. Y'all have a good one.